This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Detroit is the greatest!
Straight up light you on fire for a Coney dog right now.
Darren McCarty comes back with Neiman in front of him. McCarty draws. McCarty in. McCarty scores! A magnificent goal! Darren McCarty!
Stafford takes, throws, end zone, Calvin, touchdown, Detroit Lions!
Thank you for downloading the latest edition of the Motor City Sports Rant. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Jason Jarvie will be calling in shortly. Got a chance to run him down before the show. We're excited to talk about the NFL, talk a little bit about college hoops. Both Michigan and Michigan State continue their winning ways. A lot to talk about because people now locally are starting to compare both squads, and they're kind of built differently, with Michigan having the talent, some experience, and they got some strong leadership that's propelled them to an unbelievable 17-0 start. And you go 60 miles down the road to East Lansing, and you see what Tom Izzo has built, and you don't see a team with exactly the biggest names, but they're playing collectively well, and people are now starting to compare the point guard, starting to compare coaching. Two great matchups are coming, but they're not going to happen until a little bit later, so it's a little bit disappointing in that we all got to kind of wait a little bit before Michigan and Michigan State play each other twice. We should all be thankful they're playing twice. It's going to be great matchups. The first contest takes place at Chrysler, and then a couple days later it's going to take place at the Breslin Center, and both squads are poised for success, and many people are really excited about it. This past weekend, the NFL. If you're looking for, great back-and-forth matchups, you really didn't see that. You kind of saw some games that got out of hand, but then again, you saw the contest where the Eagles and the Saints went down to the wire, and it sets up for an exciting Final Four. A Final Four that all of us are definitely excited to watch. Probably the four best teams in all of the NFL. In the NFC and in the AFC, you got both the 1 and the 2 seeds. They're going to face off with each other, and I can't wait to see it. Going to bring in Jason in just a few seconds here. I just want to give thanks to the show sponsor. Definitely thank the Motor City Pawnbrokers. Go visit MotorCityPawnbrokers.com. They got 4 great locations in Metro Detroit. They're a great sponsor of the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Bringing in Jason, just starting to talk about the NFL. Oh my goodness, I enjoyed the 4 games. They weren't all competitive like we all wanted. No real, Hall of Fame moments like last year in terms of miracles, but competitive contests. All in all, for me, Jason, I can say this. I'm excited. This Sunday, I'm excited to check out the 2 contests, the best 4 teams in all of the NFL.
Oh, absolutely. It's great when you have the 1 versus the 2s. I'm a little disappointed in the AFC because I think the NFC games, they kept it a little bit more close. But the AFC, did somebody tell the Chargers that they were playing the Patriots? Because they came into that game and it was like Michigan going up against Ohio State this year.
Yeah, it was an interesting note that Phillip Rivers has never really defeated Tom Brady, and I do believe that the Patriots listened to all the hype. They listened to everybody saying that Tom Brady's old, a has-been, that their run is over, and so they find any avenue to play with swagger, and they came out, Jason, and I wasn't really surprised to see them score touchdown after touchdown and to keep the pedal to the metal. That's just what they do. It's just a situation in which many people are just waiting for them to lose to eventually say, look, yeah, they don't have a chance to win. But look, all in all, if you're somebody that's going to hate on the Patriots, all you got to say is they've been in the AFC title game damn near the last decade, consecutively. So many consecutive division wins. If you're going to choose to hate on the Patriots, shame on you, because that's the model franchise that a lot of people should copy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they threw up a graphic that was like, Patriots have made the 7 straight AFC conference title games. They've they've had first round buys for the past 8 years. And it's just like, that's bananas.
It's absurd, right?
Like what in these days, they're the exact opposite of the Detroit Lions. You talk about parity in the NFL, and you would expect, a down year here or there, but they do it with whoever they got on the field. Because you look at the team and you wouldn't say that it's a stacked roster. It's just they have a mastermind as a coach, and I'm not sure if when Belichick goes down, he's going to probably go down as the greatest NFL coach of all time.
Of course. Many people are going to look back at this era similar to those back in the day that looked at Vince Lombardi, those that looked at great NFL head coaches that took their teams to success. So I want to ask you this, because obviously when we see these four teams, four strong teams, great coaches, they have obviously great offenses, and they have the special players across the board, both on offense and defense. But when you start to compare the four teams with our team, the Detroit Lions, what do you think the biggest thing that's missing for the Lions to be able to be in this position? Because you see these organizations, you see the Chiefs, you see the Rams now that have loaded up the last couple of years, you see the Saints with Drew Brees, you see the Patriots, obviously the model of consistency, and you just kind of start to compare with the Lions. It just seems like they're deficient one step below in terms of talent, one step below in terms of management, one step in terms of coaching. And I'm curious to get your sense. What's the biggest issue, or what's the biggest need that the Lions would have to maybe, close the gap between the Lions and what we're going to see this Sunday?
I think, you could go a lot of different ways. And, I could say a run game, because, you saw what the Patriots did with any running back they put out there, whether it be Sony Michel, James White, or Rex Burkhead. With the Rams, you have Todd Gurley and the corpse of C.J. Anderson rushing for over 200 yards combined. And then the Saints, you got Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. You look at the Chiefs, and they had Kareem Hunt up until his debacle of a life. But I think overall, though, I think you can say that they have a cohesive offense that knows how to work with what they have, and when they do have injuries, they're able to step right up. Because I can go through all of those. You look at the Patriots, they keep doing it with whoever they have on the field. The Saints, you have a really good wide receiver in Michael Thomas, a bunch of other wide receivers, and two really solid running backs. The Rams, Jared Goff was in his rookie season. People were wondering, did the Rams make a mistake drafting this guy number 1 overall? And now we see Sean McVay is able to come in there and work with what he's got and make this offense just a juggernaut. And the Chiefs, they lost one of their biggest pieces in running back in Kareem Hunt, and they're still able to find ways to win. So that's what I see, is that they know how to run an offense. The Lions, I just think they're going out there and hoping whatever they throw out there works. And when it doesn't, they're just lost, and they keep hitting their head against the wall. And I pray to God that whoever we bring in to be the next offensive coordinator isn't just going to be more of the same, where we just look clueless out there on Sundays.
Exactly. That's the biggest fear, is that, they're just going to go out there and survey the landscape and then just decide to go in-house, which I think would piss a lot of people off. But I think the confidence right now in terms of who's going to work with the Lions and Stafford is pretty low. I think many people are now just going to wait it out for 2019. Some people, I think, will hope that the Lions don't make the playoffs or get there and absolutely fail, so that we can be 1 year removed and 1 year closer to potentially just dropping Matthew Stafford. And that's, I think, where we're at, is that I think the confidence level that the Lions are actually going to make the right hire and actually bring in elite coaches is going to be pretty low. And I think what you did see, too, it was very surprising that, the Rams just pounded the ball with two different running backs. And I guess if that's what the Lions are going to try to do, then it would make no sense to pay a quarterback $27 million a year. You see what I'm saying? Because if that's the way you really want to run your offense, then a quarterback that is going to zing the ball all over the place is not needed. So it really doesn't make sense in that if that's the direction you want to go, ball control and things like that, it doesn't make any sense for Bob Quinn conceptually to actually have given Stafford that contract, because it just, you would say that, you know what, you could have went with a rookie quarterback. You could have really bottomed out these last 2 years, then waited out a coach to come available, and you could have built your team that way. Now you've kind of handcuffed yourself just a little bit in that Stafford takes up a bunch of money, and it's pretty much shown now that if you give your quarterback a bunch of money, it does limit your opportunity to maybe have a little bit more depth. So it's just the thing that I think a lot of us look at is the puzzle has to fit finally for the Lions, where the talent meets the expectation. They draft the right people. Matt Patricia has a better year 2 and 3, and Bob Quinn can maybe make one more magical move, and then we're talking about maybe a win or two in the postseason. But my biggest fear is, like a lot of people in Dallas are complaining about, is our biggest fear is maybe the ceiling might just be similar to Garrett and the Cowboys, where Stafford gets to the postseason, maybe wins 1-2 playoff games his entire run, and we get to, what would be worse, not getting there or actually getting there year in and year out and losing in the first round or second round and never getting past some of the elite talent? Because, Jason, you look around, you see those teams that made the playoffs are pretty solid, and now the next crop next year, like the Bears, maybe the Vikings, the Packers, other teams in the NFC, it's going to be tough to make the postseason. It's going to be tough to get wins. And for the Lions, it never seems to come together all at once. And it's just disappointing because you watch these teams, and it's good football. It's decent, entertaining football with good coaching, and it's actually fun to watch. And it's almost to the point now where you go, you know what, you don't even have to watch the Lions, wait to the playoffs to watch some good football or wait for the marquee matchups.
See, and what concerns me the most is that we've heard Patricia say now that he wants to be more of a run-first team. Yeah. And that's what we tried doing. And if Kerryon Johnson isn't going to be if he's not healthy, we didn't have a run game. So it's what happens when something like that happens. You have to have another plan. And Matt Stafford is a serviceable quarterback. He's not a good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback, but he is serviceable when we actually have healthy wide receivers who can go and grab a ball. We weren't fielding an NFL team towards the end of this season. So it's like I'm worried that it's not going to be a new offensive coordinator bringing in their system. It's going to be Patricia telling them what to do. And so what is it? It's going to be the Kerryon Johnson and Zach Zenner show. And if that doesn't work, then I guess we're just going to continue doing that.
So, Jason, let me ask you this. Do you see Zach Zenner maybe one day being like a C.J. Anderson, where he kind of shines and is this unsung hero, a guy that was on the scrap heap, this medical professional wannabe, this smart guy that suffered an injury, then comes back. He shined late in the season and then goes forward and maybe becomes a star. Is that somebody that maybe could break through, or do you see them maybe continuing to have to look in the draft for some more unsung heroes?
We'd have to give the guy a shot first, because I think the book is still out on him. It's been so many times where it's like, oh, Zach Zenner might be the answer, and then he finally gets a shot and he's okay, but then he gets hurt, and then
right,
and then we have somebody to replace Zach Zenner, so Zach Zenner isn't on the team anymore, and then we bring him back, and he really works hard. Look at him run; he runs so hard. But I wouldn't be opposed to giving it a shot, because if they really are going to go this whole run first, run heavy, then we're going to have to take some pressure off of Kerryon Johnson and see if Zach Zenner is somebody who can fill that, running back 2A, 1A, 1B, whatever role you want to call it. And we need everything else around that, though, needs to fit as well.
So, of the matchups that you see, which one do you like the best in the AFC or the NFC, and which teams do you think are the favorite to make the Super Bowl?
With Kansas City and New England, you can never count on New England, because Bill Belichick just comes in and he has game plans for these teams. But what I will say is that if Kansas City goes in there and they're able to score quick, it's going to have Tom Brady on his heels. The only concern would be Kansas City's defense, and can they hold up against what Tom Brady's going to do? So, I mean, I'm not going to bet against the Patriots. I think the Patriots probably prevail in that game. On the other side, of the ball, I really want to see Drew Brees win another Super Bowl. So I'm taking the Saints.
You're taking the Saints and the Patriots?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, it's interesting because the film that the Chiefs got to watch are the games that the Patriots lost to some of the worst teams in the NFL. I mean, what were the Lions able to do to Tom Brady? What were the Dolphins and the Titans able to do? They were able to pressure Tom Brady. They were able to disrupt his rhythm. The Chargers, like you said, didn't even come to play. They didn't really do a whole heck of a lot to try and disrupt Tom Brady, and he was just able to move the ball. I think the Chiefs are going to try their absolute best to try and pressure Tom Brady, force him to try and move the ball as quickly as possible, disrupt his rhythm, and just hit him, put him to the turf, maybe get him out of the game. And if you do that,
I think the tape is out though on Tom Brady, and I read a great article that said, and it was basically outlining that the San Diego or the LA Chargers, they played exactly into Tom Brady's hands.
Yeah.
And that the way that you beat Tom Brady it was the safety from the Jets, Jamal Adams. He tweeted out, he said, the only way that you can beat Tom Brady is to play man coverage. And the Chargers all season, they played a three cover zone pretty much entirely. They didn't play a whole lot of man coverage. So I think if the Chiefs, they're smart, they go in, they play man coverage, because you don't got to cover a ton of people. You got to cover Julian Edelman, you got to cover Chris Hogan, not many other people. And you make Tom Brady stand in that pocket a little bit more, give your D-line a chance to get to Tom Brady. And I think that's the only way you can really rattle him.
Now, looking at the NFC, do you think the Rams can continue with the strategy like they performed versus the Cowboys by just running, and being able to pound the rock and control the game? Because I really think the Rams and McVay can really play any style that you want. If it's going to be up and down, they'll throw the ball. If it's going to be a situation in which it's going to be a ground and pound kind of game, they got Gurley, they got C.J. Anderson, they got the opportunity to kind of play in any kind of manner in which they see fit. But I do think that it's an opportunity late. I kind of feel like it's going to be a close game, and I think that Jared Goff's going to have the chance to have the ball late, maybe down a field goal, down a touchdown, and he's going to have a chance to create some heroics. Is he able to? I think it's really tough in that the game is going to take place in New Orleans. They're super hyped. They're ready. They're primed and ready to go. It's going to be hard, but if the Rams can get out to a good start and get out to a lead, I think they can dictate to the Saints what they want to do. And I do think that if it's the Rams coming out of the NFC, they're going to be the prohibitive favorite in the Super Bowl, because I think that the offense is there. They got key pieces on defense, and they're the next big thing that I think many people are waiting to see if they can be crowned the champs.
Yeah, and I know the NFC Championship game, it may end up being a ground and pound game on both sides, because I know in years past you think of the Saints offense as this, Drew Brees airing it out for 400 yards and getting a bunch of touchdowns, but really they've changed into more of a run team with the emergence of Alvin Kamara, with Mark Ingram, even with that random converted quarterback Taysom Hill. They're able to do a lot of things with the Saints offense. So I could really see a low-scoring game and seeing ball control being key in this game, and it could really come down to whoever has the ball last.
I want to ask you this because, I know you saw the jokes. Adam made jokes. Everybody made jokes that anybody affiliated with Sean McVay was being interviewed because he's the next big thing, and everybody's looking for the next Sean McVay. Do you feel like he's properly assessed? Are the Rams overhyped? Are you waiting to see if they actually make it to the Super Bowl? Or just based on the fact that he took the Rams from a team that was average and has gotten to the postseason, now gotten a playoff victory for Jared Goff in that franchise, do you think that the amount of praise that has been heaped on the Rams and McVay has been justified?
I mean, I think you have to praise Sean McVay, but I think he's the one who should get that praise. Obviously, all of his coordinators are going to be interviewed. Everybody wants to get the next great guy. And, I mean, we've seen it with the Patriots. Everybody who coaches under Bill Belichick, you have the coaching tree. So this is the beginning of Sean McVay, and trying to get that next generation of NFL coaches in there. I think it's going to be a wait and see, seeing how these Rams coordinators and coaches do as head coaches and offensive coordinators elsewhere. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that the Super Bowl is the Rams and the Chiefs. I think both young quarterbacks will be primed and ready to go. But objectively, I think it's probably going to end up being the Rams and the Patriots. I think this tour that the Patriots are on, this hate tour, you see now Tom Brady making videos, working out to songs that are synonymous with the Chiefs. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's not happy that people have written him off. And have you seen this unusual phenomenon that when Alabama wins the national title, then the Patriots don't have success in the playoffs, and when Alabama loses out before winning the title, then the Patriots have been successful in the playoffs? It's really interesting if you look at it.
It is. It's interesting. I don't hold that with much weight, though.
No, I understand completely. It's going to be a fun time. I'm looking forward to it. It's just obviously all Lions fans are a little bit jealous. You see the two up-and-coming quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes and Jared Goff, and then you see the old guard. You see Drew Brees and Tom Brady. So it'll be interesting to see. I think any combination of the matchups really is going to be sellable. It's going to be really good. And I think the NFL has got to be doing flips and doing headstands and cartwheels, because in the end, you're going to have a Super Bowl that's going to be quality. It's going to be one for the ages. So we just got to hope here in Detroit that the Lions kind of figure out what it takes to move things along and move things forward. Now, before we get out of here, obviously, Jason, you and I are both strong Michigan State supporters. They've kind of started the Big Ten very strong. The performance versus Penn State wasn't the best, but they have been getting victories, and Michigan State has been able to kind of start the Big Ten pretty strong. And looking at Michigan as well, they've started undefeated, 17-0, and now people are definitely catching on and paying attention to what they're doing. College basketball in town has been really great, but to start by focusing in on Michigan State, I've been impressed with Cassius Winston. I've been impressed with Nick Ward and his motivation to kind of change up his game, work on his body, work on his free throws, and really buy into the Tom Izzo system. And now you're seeing the fruits of his labor. And if you just pay attention to that roster, I mean, McQuaid can handle his business. Nick Ward's doing great. Cassius Winston has emerged in his sophomore season. It's a squad that's gritty. They play well, and they can shoot. Don't underestimate Michigan State. Don't underestimate Michigan State. They can shoot. They can play a decent brand of basketball, and I like the fact that they got this little bit of a swagger that, you know what, last year was a little bit of a challenge. We didn't go out the way in which we felt, and now they've kind of doubled down and gotten better, and they're going to get healthy soon, hopefully, with the return of Langford, and hopefully he returns soon enough to be productive in the Big Ten season.
Yeah, and I was just looking at the upcoming schedule, and I kept seeing, all these Big Ten teams, and they have winning rosters, and I was like, where's the bad teams in the Big Ten? So I looked at the entire Big Ten standings, and all but 4 teams have, really good records. They have maybe have 5 or 6 losses, but they have a double-digit wins. So it's we're in a really good conference. Michigan State's playing really well. And, yeah, I agree. I think it has the feel of an old Tom Izzo team that they find ways to win. They work hard. My only concern is going to be when they come up against those elite teams. And, right now the elite team in the Big Ten is Michigan. And, when we get into the tournament, going up against the Dukes and all the top teams, and can we compete if we bring our best against their team's best? Can we win those games?
And I think, though, Jason, you got to pay attention to the fact that Michigan State and Michigan are going to play 2 games where whatever happens, I think one of the likely scenarios is each team wins on its home floor. They tie this year. They both go 1-1. But I do think both squads are going to learn a lot about each other when they play each other, because I think it's going to be a bang-em-up game. I think both teams are going to want to really try and shoot well and get out to good starts and really play well in transition going from offense to defense. And I think
it's going to be a tough situation, though. I was checking those when they play, and they play 2 weeks apart.
Yeah, they do. And like I said, they're going to have to grow. Both squads are going to have to grow. But when they do play each other, I think they'll be the best versions of the squads when they play. And I hope that the games are competitive a little bit more than they were in the last couple of years, where right now Michigan is the dominant program and they're the team that gets all the headlines, and they got a lot of young talent and they got a lot of leadership as well. They play in any fashion. They can play really any way you want. And dude, Jason, you've seen now, they're not just winning, they're destroying teams.
Yeah, it's not fun to watch as a Michigan State fan.
Well, can't you give them a little bit of credit that you see Brzezickas?
I give them all the credit in the world that they are playing well. This is not football. Football, I give zero credit. And I guess if Jim Harbaugh was a better coach, I'd give him a little bit of credit. But this is basketball. John Beilein is a great coach. He's got his team playing at another level. And I mean, if there's ever a year that we could see Michigan actually maybe ascend to another level, this is going to be it.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be fun in March. I do think that if you were
It's not going to be fun.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be fun for Michigan fans. It's not going to be fun for me.
Listen, Jason, in a town that's starved for success, if it's not Michigan State, as long as Michigan, doesn't destroy Michigan State in these contests and Michigan State can compete, look, whatever happens, there's a chance they could meet in the tournament. There's a chance they could be in the same region. As long as the games are competitive, whatever happens, happens. Both teams got to do what you got to, they got to improve. They got to play well. And I do think that being that we're Spartan supporters, we have to hope that Michigan gets to the finals again and loses, because what's been better than watching Michigan lose to Louisville and also watching Michigan lose to Villanova in that fashion where an unsung hero pops up? I think it's been great. So if Michigan plays Duke, there's a chance they could compete, but there's a chance that, Duke will rise up and win a national title on the backs of Michigan. And wouldn't it be great if Michigan shows up to the final game undefeated and they're one game away from history, from glory, and they go up against Duke and Zion Williamson and all the talent that they have over there at Duke? Oh, man, it'd be great, because if they fail, it'll be the biggest, letdowns in the history of sports.
Yeah, it'd be great, but then also there's the other side of it of
what if they win?
If they win, it's something that they're going to hold over us forever.
Well, it's just one. I mean, Michigan State's experienced a couple. They would have the most recent success, but I think the odds are long that Michigan's going to win it all, but they're going to compete. They're going to probably make it to the Final Four. I think they're the odds-on favorite from the state of Michigan to take care of business. Now, Jason, I do want to point your attention to a kid in Detroit. Antoine Davis is making noise. Not only is he talented, he's the son of the coach. Mike Davis has been to the Final Four with Indiana, has been a journeyman now for the last few seasons jumping around. But, Mike Davis has a track record, has experience, and now Detroit Mercy is kind of playing a little bit better brand of basketball. And Antoine Davis, a freshman, a true freshman, has kind of started to make the rounds. First started by DSP. I sent Vito out there to talk to him because he's been dropping 30 points like it's nothing. He's the second leading scorer in the entire NCAA. And this kid can shoot. And his dad has said, I wanted to kind of mold him into a pro already. And he said, and he's revealed to many people that he's already put up in his lifetime about 1 million shots. And over the summer, his day would consist of shooting, practicing, working out, relaxing, then getting up more shots. And this kid, Antoine Davis, pay attention to him. He's solid. He can shoot, and he makes it look easy. So this Saturday, if you get a chance to peek, Detroit plays Oakland University at Callahan Hall. Vito and I will be on hand, and it'll be an interesting matchup. But pay attention to Antoine Davis. He's a freshman. If he emerges in the next couple years, maybe Detroit Mercy gets back on the map and maybe becomes the third best team in the state of Michigan.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
What's been your interest level so far with college basketball? You peeking in a little bit to state, a little bit more than Michigan, obviously?
I look at Michigan State more than Michigan always, but what Michigan's doing, I can't ignore it. I see the articles. I'll read the articles, and really everything I see is just that Michigan, they're getting it from everywhere. They're finding new talent on their team, and it's disgusting to hear as a Michigan State fan. But I mean, it's great for Michigan that they're actually succeeding.
Now, one final thing. I saved the worst for last because obviously before we started the show, obviously we text a little bit, and you're like, "So, what do you want to talk about?" I'm like, "Yeah, a little bit of NFL, a little bit of college hoops, and maybe something else." Well, obviously through the flow of conversation, it popped in my mind the word shakeup. And,
oh, man.
And you called it. I give you credit, but most people that looked at it were like, Mark Dantonio's not going to blow anybody out. He's not going to blow out his staff. Now, he did shake up his roster. He did shake up his staff. He did move people around. He didn't blow anybody out, but now Brad Salem is the new offensive coordinator. And when it came out, many people were pissed off, and they're like, dude, this is unheard of to take a staff and just shift them around. And it really kind of shows you where Mark Dantonio's at. He came out, and I give him credit for standing up there in front of the media talking to everybody. He said, look, I don't want to start over. I don't want to work with different people. And I get that. Obviously, I have a comfort level with you, Adam, Vito, and the crew here. But if there was somebody out there that I knew was going to get 1 million downloads and bring a bunch of sponsors and things like that, I'd obviously want to work with them. And the part that's so frustrating is Mark Dantonio isn't willing to look for better. And whether it be budget reasons, whether it be the fact there's not enough money to pay somebody, like a Gaddis from Alabama, a boatload of money to do the job, or he doesn't want to let go of control, which a lot of CEOs and guys with big egos don't want to do. But the mere fact that he looked at his offense the last few seasons and compared it to the defense and decided that the same crew of people that he's worked with is still acceptable is unheard of. And right now, I'm the most skeptical I've ever been in regards to Michigan State football. It's really disgusting what choice he made.
Yeah, it's just, is Brad Salem really he's going to make that big of a difference?
Right.
They didn't fire anybody. It was Dave Warner is still coaching this team. He's still coaching these players. I mean, how is this going to be any different than the end of the season? I mean, granted, we'll have more players because we'll be healthier, but it's
absurd.
It's not what we needed. We needed change. We needed updating in our playbook, and we're just going to have more of the same. It's going to be going to be running on first and second down and hoping we're not in a third and long situation. So it's baffling and it's frustrating when you see Michigan. They're struggling. They're on the hot seat with Jim Harbaugh. They're aching to win, and we're just, we're staying the same. I texted you when the quote of, I'm a fox in my hole and I want to stay the same. I'm like, dude, you are so old. Like, really?
Exactly, really?
Like, words escape me.
Words escape everybody, and I do think that season tickets are going to go down. The level of expectation is going to go down, but I do think he's going to bank on the fact that it's going to be us against the world, and he's going to want to show everybody, look, you know what? But in the end, I don't think that you even kept up with Michigan, and you still got Ohio State that's got a supremely talented offense, and they got in a marquee transfer that's highly touted, and you really are thinking that a renewed staff in different positions is going to keep up with Michigan, Ohio State, and the likes of Clemson, Alabama, and trying to get to the playoff. I mean, if by some miracle you get to the playoff, you're just fodder to be Notre Dame or fodder to be Oklahoma and get your ass kicked by a big dog. And I understand that you're a defensive coach and you think that it's going to come back, but in all of football, it's an offensive game. The game is tailored for speed and running, and what Michigan State's doing is really unheard of. And I just don't like when coaches are stubborn and they're not willing to change. And for me now, my enthusiasm for Michigan State football at this time is pretty low. And I just see, again, maybe they resurge a little bit, maybe go 9-3, but I don't think that Michigan State is going to be able to compete with the likes of Michigan and Ohio State.
Now, want to know what's going to be crazy, and I made the call when I said that Dantonio wasn't going to change anything, and everybody's upset that it's just, even me, I'm upset that nothing has changed. I'm going to make my call right now that next season, this is the pessimistic Spartan fan in me, that next season we're probably going to be competing in the Big Ten, and we might be going to the Big Ten championship, and it won't be for any good reason. I think we have more players who have more experience. Well, we're going to have a lot of the same people on defense and offense, and for whatever reason, it's going to work out. And Mark Dantonio will just be able to go, see, I told you so.
Hooray, Jason. Now, Jason, if they do have a defensive team, are we going to Indy to watch a 17-14 MSU victory?
I mean, maybe. The Big Ten, whatever you want to call it, West, they suck. So it's whoever comes out of the East.
Spartan Dogs, where are we at? Whoop, whoop, whoop. Play defense, baby. Don't score a lot of points. Well, we'll see what happens, but I'm not confident. I just think that Michigan's got a lot to prove. They're going to bring back a lot of talent as well, a lot of talent that is similar to what offenses need, speed and big, tall receivers that can handle business and a returning quarterback, and you got Ohio State with Fields and what they're going to do. Holy cow, man, it's going to be tough. But, yeah, I just think not to make change. Look, Brad Salem may improve the offense 20%. But I'm looking at it like I want to compete with Clemson. I want to compete with Ohio State. I want to compete with big dogs. I don't want to just compete with Michigan. I don't want to just squeak into the Big Ten and then get your ass whooped like 48-3 on the biggest stage. You got to bring the noise, and I just think that Mark is not evolving, and I think it's going to bite him in the butt. I think 2018 will be the year in which people will look to and say, you know what, after that season, that tough season in 2018, he refused to adapt, and he's going to go by the wayside of like a Bowden or a Lloyd Carr at the end, a guy that just held on a little too long, wasn't willing to adapt, and got broomed out.
I mean, as Spartan fans, that's probably what we have to actually hope for at this point.
Yeah.
Because if he does succeed, it's just going to be more of the same. It's going to be, hey, we win for a year or two, and then it goes right back in the tank. And then are we going to shake up the offense of coaches again? I think at that point, probably Dantonio is retiring.
You can follow Jason on Twitter at Jarvie the King. You can follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Get in the mix. Answer some of the questions. Vote on the polls. We're the most interactive Detroit sports Twitter page. I thank you, Jason, for chiming in. Very good podcast. I look forward to next week in our conversation. As always, go green, but our skepticism has to be super high because of the fact that shakeups, just to keep your boys close, sometimes not in your best interest. We shall see.
Indeed. Go White.
You just downloaded the latest edition of the Motor City Sports Rant. See everybody next week.
Later.
Okay, nice idiot. You. Bye-bye.
Toodaloo, motherfucker.
Good day, sir. I said good day.
All right. Take care now. Bye-bye then.
Loser.